morning again. This is Rabbi Shlomo First. I'm temporarily substituting for Rabbi Reuven Levitt, taking care of very important business for the Yeshiva, Tsama Nafshi, Yerushalyim, HaKodesh. We are now learning our third shir in the morning, Nefesh HaChaim in the first shar, very close. Who'd like to read? Ron, like to read?
Okay.
Starting over here.
Ka'asher kiyem kol hamitzvot b'shleimus v'ortavo v'tiktikteim v'ikar ha'maaseh. When you fulfill all the mitzvahs completely, shleimus.
Perfectly.
Shalem is perfect or complete? To me, shleimus is complete. Shalem.
What would the Hebrew word of perfect be?
Perfect. Okay, well, that's perfection. Me'achos. But that's not the right word. Okay, I don't.
I think it means both. Complete is also good, but perfect. See, is something which is complete. Can you say it's perfect? Something which is perfect is certainly complete, right? Something which is perfect is certainly complete. But something which is complete, he died, you see, not so fast, there you go. I have a caboose like that. Every time I make these statements, he's got, wait a second, you make these statements. Go ahead.
I'm a simple boy from Brooklyn. When you say I did something perfectly.
Right.
Okay? Does perfection mean you have to do every single detail? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe if you got to the end of, you got to the goal,
Right.
and that's the perfection. Does that mean you have to do everything in step? Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not so sure.
Also, look, I'm going to, I'm not...
You move the background a little bit?
Let's discuss it. What do we think?
Thinking about the word whole, this whole, complete whole.
A whole, complete whole. Yeah, but if you look at the simple word whole, it means that there's a chor, there's a hole. Okay? And a chor means that maybe there's something missing. So
If it's a donut, it's still perfect and complete.
What?
The donut is perfect and complete, but it has a hole.
Okay. And you know, the people in the Chayim, when they went to the...
So what? It's supposed to be a donut.
So that's a complete donut, right? But if you have a car tire with a hole in it, right?
So it depends where the hole is.
So what?
So it depends what it is.
People who went to the Rav, they said when you eat a bagel or a donut, you make a bucket. Well, what happens to the hole?
Yeah.
And the Rav says, the Chamatik, Rav said, I have to check into this. But that's helpful.
You ever see a button without a hole?
Oh yes, ladies, best as they can have buttons for decorative purposes. My wife has, a jacket. They're nice buttons and decorative, but there's no button.
Yeah, but how's it sewed onto the gun?
From the back. It's on from the back. There's a hook in the back.
There's a little hole. It's like
It's a hook in the back.
There's something in the back. But the button.
It's not. The button is not used to close the garment. It's just decorative.
Right.
They can have a zipper. They can have a hook.
Yeah. You have these here. You have these here, but they have holes on them. How are you going to get them under the? How are you going to get them onto the sleeve? Right?
Oh, the button has to have a hole. I thought the button needs a hole to where it's good.
Oh, that's another one. See, look at that. See, when you start learning Gemara, there's no end to how far you can go. Right?
Well, it keeps our mind alert.
Right. No, so
Shleimus. Okay, so you say completion and perfection. Let's say both.
See,
no argument.
right. No, well, I mean, I'm not arguing for it. No, I think when we use the word shleimus in terms of Torah, shleimus is somewhat multidimensional in my. It connotates has multidimensional connotations. Completeness. So you mean complete is sort of like maybe bidimensional, has two dimensions. Shleimus has like three dimensions. They're working on the same type of a concept, but they're approaching it in a little bit different way. The shleimus, something which is sholem, is is perfect in all ways. I mean, any lack of anything is going to define it as not being perfect. Right? But something which is complete.
Do we say shleimus balev, or what are we referring to?
Well, now we're talking about shleimus of mitzvahs.
Yes, okay. Shleimus balev could have a different context.
That's right. True. That's right. You have to take it in terms of the context that it's being used. What is the translator? What word did he use here?
Well, the person is completely fulfilled.
Completely fulfilled. Okay.
So I'll put that all its details, particular also. What's the difference between pratim and dikutim?
Pratim is details. Dikuteka and it's details and it's
the diet is that the shores?
And its necessities, all its details and necessities.
Requirements?
Requirements. Most details and requirements.
The ikar, the essential, the ikar, the completion of the muscle?
Well, the primary action. The essence.
Ikar is the
Essence of Maisa, and the essence of the act. I'll give you a perfect example. Kriya Shema. You want to say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's six words there, right? So you're supposed to do it in the proper time. Right? You're supposed to be doing where you're wearing talis and tefillin. Right? You're supposed to be doing it in the tzibur. You're supposed to have certain kavanas. Right? It's simply not just saying 6 words. Right? There are many details in the Ikar Maisa, the essential act of saying these 6 words of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's actually very complex.
What if you don't include all the complexities? Are you still saying Shema?
Yeah, but it may not be the slaves. So, as we know, like when you're dealing with, for example, using diamonds yesterday, right? There'll be difference between the brilliance of one diamond or the clarity of another diamond. So your Shema can be more brilliant one day or less brilliant the next, depending on how much you put into it.
So, in other words, there's some people, let's say, Chabad, they encourage people to put on tefillin, and say Shema. Okay. Some others say, well, but that's not shleimus. So they answer, well, it's better than nothing. So we have to be flexible to find this, to find that. So I don't know what they want.
As I was saying, when you're on the...
We're not the ones to judge. We're not the ones to judge.
No, yeah, like I said, I'm saying, like when you're in your battlefield hospital, your rules are completely different. You're on the battlefield. You're in the community hospital. It's taking care of sore throats and women giving babies. It's like it's a whole different story. So
guys walking to go to work and they stop and put some film. He's going to win a business meeting. That in itself is a lot for the person who does right. We try to do it on a different level, and they do it on a different level.
See, my attitude is, if you start on a lower level, not a shleimus, which way could you go? You could go up, you could increase your shleimus. But if you don't start all together, when they say kol haskalas kashos, you have to start. But other people want to do it, and they say, do it right or not, don't do it all. So I don't have the answer.
Look, mitzvahs, pashtus mitzvahs, gereres mitzvah. One mitzvah will lead to another mitzvah. So you get them to do one mitzvah, it may not be the complete mitzvah.
And X amount.
The joke. Someone was asked to put on tefillin into kaisa. You've never seen him put on tefillin before. So after he put on the tefillin, he said these words, and after he took the tefillin, he said, "Doctor, what's my pulse? What's my
What happened with Meir Kahane?
Oh yeah.
He was in jail. He used to be in tefillin. The guy's next to him to know this is blood pressure. So
Blood pressure.
So it says it's your blood pressure. So we take a food. Says no, it has my own. It has only from my blood. It can't change it. You know? It happened.
I'm hanging with Rabbi Brooks, who goes to Kishinev, which is Albania or something there. There are 400 Eden there, and he gets up to daven, and he has 40 now a Shabbos. He comes for Shabbos. Out of the 43, he came for the Seder, okay? And he spends 3 weeks out of every month in Europe away from his family. Very wonderful person. And he did something. He says, not everybody agrees. People who can't come for Shabbos, they have to go to work. So they come for Mincha. And I tell them to put a talis and fill them for Mincha. And then we have Bashir, and then we have Marek. So when they go home for a kosher meal, he feels he's accomplished something.
Yeah.
But some people are going to say, well, Mincha, putting a talis and filling it.
You gotta start. You can't jump into all the mitzvahs all at once. You know?
And just one last comment. Who is yearning for Torah? Not the man of 60. His life is now moving to the end. The young man of 25, 30 is looking for something real, as far as that he found out maybe 5 years ago that I was Jewish. A lot of parents in these countries kept the fact that I was Jewish from their children because I was 70 years ago. They were killed because they were Jews. So, are we to judge people who brought up their kids without any religion? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So what we're discussing here is the mitzvah b'shleimus. Right? We're talking about the ideal circumstances that require a person to put forth his very best efforts in the fulfilling of a mitzvah. And what does that do?
We know something and in addition, it's Torah, Otzem, Taharas, Yerushas, Machshava. And in addition, it's Torah.
It's to combine
Otzem, the strength of the Torah, Kedusha, Machshava. It helps to purify your thoughts, your machshava, besides.
Yeah, well, you see, it's mentioned too. You have on one hand, you have the shleimus of the mitzvah in its pratim and the kutim, the ikar ha'maisa, in the essential, the dry maisa. You have the actual deed. In addition to that, noisif aleinu, in addition to the actual performance of the actual deed, you have the oitzim taharas kedushas hamachshava. You have the strength of the purity and the holiness of the thought behind the mitzvah. You have the mitzvah, the deed, and you have the mitzvah and machshava as well. Two aspects of the mitzvah.
So you're getting the fulfillment of the mitzvah shleimus, and you're getting an added benefit that your machshavas are going to be the Torah delusion?
No, I don't. He's mentioning.
No,
I think he's mentioning something different. I think he's mentioning that you need to have not only the actual maisa, the deed, but you also have to have the thought behind the maisa as well. You see certain mitzvahs that the mitzvahs trikas kavanah, right?
Okay.
Now, certain mitzvahs, if you don't have the proper kavanah, under certain circumstances, under certain points, we will say, for example, when you're sitting in a sukkah, right? So you're supposed to be thinking of why you're sitting in a sukkah, because the HaKodesh commanded you to have a remembrance of the Anani Kavod, what Hashem did when He took us out of Mitzrayim, in the Midbar. Now, if you're not going to think about that, at least at one point at the beginning of you're sitting in the sukkah, there are some poskim who say you might as well, and you are in fact maybe perhaps you're sitting outside the sukkah. So much so that you may, by eating bread, which you're not supposed to eat outside the sukkah, you may be considered to be eating bread outside the sukkah.
Unless you have complete proper machshavas, you're not unless you have a sukkah according to some poskim. And the saying is as if you're actually eating food outside the sukkah. That's a pretty...
It's extremely
strict interpretation.
That's right. But they're taking this stand that people should realize the importance of the makshava, the thought process when you're fulfilling the mitzvah of sukkah. Why? Because even though saying normally mitzvah shrik is kavanah, right? But a simple act like going to take a nap in your sukkah or have a bagel and lox in your sukkah, right? When you might be doing that, any time during the day or year during the rest of the course of the year. It may be your very own patio, right? And it just happens to have some leaves of a tree on top this week during the fall season of the year, right? But same with.
So unless you have a kavanah, so you're not. First of all, it's not sukkahs, let's say, and you don't have any kavanah, so you're not fulfilling. Right. So you don't do that in January.
Right.
Okay, so you have to have the right.
Mitzvah shrichus kavanah is a mitzvah of chesed, right? So if I would like to be passed the cookies down, so I asked him, Amram was going to pass me the cookies down. If he passes down, right, very nice. He's done a very nice thing. But if he's thinking about doing a chesed while he's doing it, so he gets a mitzvah d'oraisa, right? But if he's not thinking, he's just doing it because someone asked him for the cookies, right? So does he really get a mitzvah of chesed in there or not?
Don't we say low shmo, molish shmo?
Well, that's another thing. That's the.
He did it without the right kavanas, but eventually.
Yeah, but we're talking about that mitzvah. How do we evaluate that mitzvah right now?
Okay.
Man just did a mitzvah. He passed cookies down the table, right? You had several brachas tonight. So ask you for the ketchup, right? So you're going to pass him the ketchup. So how are we going to evaluate that ma'isa? That ma'isa is a ma'isa of chesed. You've done personally. He didn't have to get up out of his chair and get the ketchup.
It's being a mensch, chesed also? You're being a mensch, you're being a...
On different levels. That's why you have the correct have a detail. You have different levels of how you're doing it. Right? Depends on how much effort you put into it. That's how much you're going to reward. You're going to get a reward for doing it. That's what the rabbi said, right? But how much of the how much on what level the reward is on how your thought process is.
Well, that's something else. The fumtzara, you're passing that ketchup for one person might be a big job. He might have to stretch. Maybe not easy to get out of his chair. Right? Another person, maybe another person's an athlete. He'll jump, he'll do somersaults and he'll pass you the ketchup. No problem. We'll love to do it. Right? Fumtzara, yes.
Next year you take a bottle of ketchup and we'll make it to a hail business.
That's what the world's all about. This world you're supposed to take.
You see a guy in the street, right? Ask for charity, give him money because you feel bad or because the God said. So with the thoughts at that moment is what's going to determine what your reward is. Right?
You say, Baruch Hashem, that Hashem provided me with the money so I can do it.
And then you have the kavanah that
I don't have to go be dealt, which is not
so that's the kavanah. That's exactly it. That's the kavanah. If you have the kavanah, you're on that level. And if you just give it because you feel bad for the person, you get it on that level. It's very simple.
What if you don't give it?
So then you're on a different level. That's between you and God. I mean, that's how it goes.
A 5-year-old comes up to you, he wants you to cross you with him in the street. Right? So you're just thinking of helping this child across the street. You're thinking this is a mitzvah d'oraisa. When you pay somebody, you pay the cab driver, you pay the barber, right? Pay the babysitter,
on time.
right? You pay him on time. You're fulfilling a mitzvah, or you just give him. That's a mitzvah d'oraisa. So if you think about it, you're adding brilliance and clarity to that diamond of the mitzvah. If you're not thinking about it, so it's still a diamond, it's still a mitzvah, but it's less brilliant, it has less clarity. And the way you, as much fumtzara, how many facets in that diamond do you have?
You give me another Bar Torah, Rabbi, because you're taking this facets, diamonds, brilliance, and projecting it into a very beautiful thought. You call Talmud, kids that call Talmud discounted because
It's okay.
because you're the baby.
It's okay.
Did I teach you one else?
You taught me many things.
Oh, so could I say that?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I can.
I'm very, very honored by you coming to the shirim, and I've gained quite a lot from you, your knowledge of all aspects of life in Torah.
Sometimes I chep you, but okay.
It's okay, well, I also, that's good that the Rebbe learns how to...
keep you focused, keep you on the ball.
That's right.
Ray Tikkun Kula or Lavos has Dorim, this is the doing with these kavanas is tikkun is to repair. There must be a better word.
Repair, it's tikkun kolo, it's
To improve.
tikkun is also, it could be, also it's establishing, it's fortifying, it's reinforcing.
Tikkun is there's a lot of different.
Reinforcing all the worlds, Hasidorim and all the
Things that say that
whole matrix, the whole arrangement of those things above.
say there is arrangements. Elyonim is referring to the spiritual aspect.
Yeah. I'm doing the spiritual, higher aspects.
But na'aseh kulo b'kol choso, and you should do these with all your strength and all your aver and all your limbs. Your whole body should be involved, okay? And what's the difference between a koach and the aver?
The
Koach is your strength. It was usually is using your aver, using your hands, your feet.
Because you're spiritual, I guess. And
What is your heart?
is your physical.
What is your heart? Okay. Koach could come from your heart.
That's right. So that's
And
spiritual.
Averov is
There's your physical hand.
lifting your hand doing
That's right.
something. Okay. The shorish is the chariot,
Yeah.
but it has a different connotation here. I forget what it was.
Well, it's Markovi.
The upper spiritual level.
Yeah, that's like the Merkava. Literally, it's like chariot, but it's the outer functioning interface between HaKodesh Baruch Hu and this world. And that's
An active.
something which is putting things into action. Yeah.
The Suk Shem, the Rishon, from the upper holiness, Kavod Hashem, Feich Olam Tamid, and the honor of Hashem, Chofech, shines alive on them Tamid. Forever.
The glory of the HaKodesh Baruch Hu is surrounding them constantly.
Okay, if it's surrounding.
How do they translate it?
Sanctified from the supernal holiness which God's glory constantly
Hovering.
Up here.
Let's not get to this week's portion. We are not covered there. We would get up when it would rise, when we would break camp, we follow it in the midbar. When we would rest, we would come to rest and set out camp.
How many times in the 40 years, I think, how many times did the Amalek go over the house?
39 travels. Is it 39 travels?
Rashi in the beginning of Devarim, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was a meal. It
Was it the
wasn't.
last? Matos and Masay, no?
They give it all. It's also listed there, but Rashi, I think Rashi goes through the cheshbon. Rashi explains it right there in the beginning.
Some places they stayed for years.
Yeah.
Yes, 19 years in one place.
Yeah, sure.
Over 19 years in one place.
They like the neighborhood. Is that was what they
There was a lot of work to be done there.
I
A lot of spiritual level had to be done there.
think they added a lot of spiritual gold had to be extracted from the ore. I think it's
In the Chumash it says, so they travel here and they travel there.
Yeah, that's Masay.
So if you
The last one
add
was-
them up, it's 39?
I think it was 30. I think it was 39. But there was some that they did overnight.
right.
You know what it is to pack up a camp with 600,000 plus people? It was a sub-budget too.
No, it wasn't.
When I packed up to Israel, it takes me 2 weeks to stop putting things together because I I get all these requests from all the English. Grandpa, bring this, bring that. And then I know I'm coming to Israel when the delivery service, FedEx, UPS,
Start arriving with packages.
when packages in front of the door, I
That's
just
right.
and some of my English, they don't even ask because they know I'm not going to refuse if they order something. And then the funniest thing, you'll get something electronics, it's a tiny little thing. It comes in the biggest box. It has phone, which sometimes it takes you a half an hour just to get rid of the phone. Sometimes it has this, other thing. But how much waste there is, my wife is recycling. All these things, the tiniest little thing, they don't want to get.
They don't get lost. You get lost in the package.
Get lost, and there's so much stuff, a tremendous amount of
Yeah, I'm not going to take down far from you, not now, I don't want to take too much time. It's a shame. Yeah, but people get the wrong impression, they think we're always wandering through the midbar. First of all, it wasn't wandering. This week's parsha tells you clearly, it wasn't wandering.
That's right.
They were wandering Jews in the midbar. It wasn't wandering at all. We were following the HaKodesh Torah.
They weren't supposed to be there for 39 results.
Excuse me?
They weren't supposed to be there. This
Yeah,
week's parsha.
yeah, that's the whole point.
This week's parsha, you learn it. He's telling Yitzchak, don't flee. We're going into Eretz Yisrael because we're supposed to be. My next parsha was supposed to be into Eretz Yisrael, and the big fight go up and slap go up.
Okay, let's continue.
Hashem, Chofet, that's right. How is all up to me? We want Hashem to be hovering over us for eternity.
And now the next paragraph is a Zohar in Parshas Shuma. So if you go 3 lines into the next paragraph, you'll see at the end of the line the word "V'lechavodi" is in brackets. That's the beginning of the Hebrew translation of the Zohar. So I suggest we just go straight to the Hebrew translation. Okay?
Because we're like 40 years old, so we can't.
Don't be afraid of the Zohar.
I'm not afraid of the Zohar. But the Zohar has brought a lot of people back to Yiddishkeit. Because the spiritual, the energies, the forces I know, the people who, those are the Ikar, and I said, I never sat down and learned that is, first of when you clap this hand and that hand, what energy are you being, what color? I was a kid, we never learned that.
V'lechavodi.
No, I'll share the meeting with somebody else.
Oh, okay. Barb, would you like to read? That's in the next paragraph, the end of the 3rd line.
Last word.
Last word.
In parentheses.
Good morning. Good, everybody. How are you?
How are you?
Albany's here. Albany's here.
Always
You're learning some Zohar. If you want to learn Zohar, you can have a chance. It's nice in the other room.
Yeah. Even though it's a draw, you're a person with me.
V'lechavodi, go ahead.
ולכבודי ראשית בדווקא סויד זה למדנו זה בגלל ניסקון למעלה
Let's see, what does it mean? V'lechavodi v'rasi v'dafka. That it was for my glory it was created. That's specifically, right? The specific reason for the creation is Hashem's glory, His honor. And so it said, this basic understanding, principle, fundamentally is taught to us, is the HaKodesh. It's brought down as this is the honor of Hashem. Kulu nitcha, kulu nitcha damal, and b'toch tikunim shel b'nei ha'olam. All these things are fixed up above, according to the Tikunim shall be the old, according to those rectifications which are taking place by people in this world. And what does it mean? Hashem b'nei Adam heim tzaddikim chasidim. It turns out that people are tzaddikim, righteous, or chasidim and pious. We are doing the takim tikunim, and they don't have to make all these various different things rectified.
Maybe a translation from Shapiro.
From again where?
Of Shapiro.
Yeah.
Of Kavod.
Yeah.
Which is different. It sounded beautiful to say that when we think of one, especially in Goddess, first thought is foresight. That people are honoring. There's very often something not. So he says, it means really that Hashem's essence shines out in the inner, shining out. And that's the ikar really what honor should be. Like in the Sephardim, but the Sephardim when they say Kavod, it means, I'm honoring you. It means I'm seeing your inner.
Many times I like to translate as splendor. So splendor is something which is being emitted, right? The splendor, something splendorous. It's like it's not just you're observing it, but it's actually impinging upon you. It's emitting certain beauty.
There's beauty. I think it's maybe especially in England. There's a cynicism in the language.
Yeah.
If you say honor, the first thing you think of is somebody that doesn't deserve it. You're putting a badge of honor on it.
Yeah.
It's often who are these people?
It's like honor. Kavod is also like glory. So that people don't use. You don't use that word's not found in conversational.
It's not concerned, but also you have an honors list in England. Any what's the name can become an honor now.
You want to honor somebody at the dinner. You want to honor somebody at the dinner, right? So, but that's not what we're referring to over here.
Right. So this I like the way this idea that whatever's we can't imagine the inner of Hashem. There's no way of understanding. Whatever that shines out to the outer. It seems to me like a beautiful way of describing it. And that, to me, that's what we're really saying about the person when we're saying Kavod. If you mean it, what we're saying is I recognize your soul. I recognize your neshama. And it's not really about putting a badge of honor or something.
Okay, let's go over to the next page. You have it there? The next page? Good.
Always Hein Hein Anakura. Hein Nefesh. Nafshi. Bifgoim, Bachad, Koich Bachad. Ve'eil Baruch. Adidei Chatosa. Hashem Chatot.
So what does this mean? The Chazal say that's the Medrash Rabbah, Ha'avois. The Avos meaning Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, and Yaakov Avinu, Hein HaMarkava. They are the Markava. They are the chariot. Meaning, they are they explain it as follows: like the chariot is like you can't get to see the king, but you can see his carriage. You can see his chariot passing by. You can't see the king. The king is enclosed within the compartment of the chariot, of the carriage. But you can see his chariot. You can see his horses. You can see the wagon that's drawing the chariot, the carriage. So you can see that, right? So now that's somewhat of the splendor of the king, right? So likewise, the Avos somehow show the splendor and the greatness, glory of HaKodesh Baruch. Yeah, okay. If it's going to be, right, the opposite is going to be worse, as it says in Friday 2.
understand the last bit.
Which part is that? Okay. Gam kein nafkein magia again like this. So as we began, we talked about the mitzvahs, that according to the act, the shlemus of the mitzvah in its physically being fulfilled, and in its thoughtful consideration of doing it, right? The Maisa and the Makshava. According to that, that's going to have effects in the higher worlds, and that's going to bring a certain splendor, glory, covered, right, of the HaKodesh Baruch Hu into this world. And that's how we said it came down to the final point about the Avos. The Avos, more than anyone in history, represented the glory of the HaKodesh Baruch Hu in this world. Now, the same way works oppositely. Oppositely, the Fugaim, Echad Kokosav Erov, Aidei Chata Asher Chata, that the Pagam, the blemish, right, of one of the kochos of his forces and a vorov and those limbs, aidei chatoso asher chata, through the sin that was done. Gam kein yapkan magia lefi shorsho. It's going to also the pagam, right? The damage which is going to be caused is going to spread out according to the source, according to the root, meaning how deep and serious is this root? How much of thought did he put into doing this chet? How serious was the actual deed that he did? So 1 second. So also Olam HaKoyach HaElyon HaMakuvan Negdo Kisivei Shur Koima Kiviyachah. So everything, if there's a bad deed, an Revera, transgression, so that's going to affect everything according to the depth of the act and according to the thought behind it. And that's going to go to that particular world and that particular force above that's corresponding, Mechaber Negdo, that's corresponding, Mechuber Negdo, that corresponds with Sidrei Shir Koima, that is corresponding to the matrix of the arrangements above. So 1 second. So meaning according to the action, the avera, the sin that's done, and according to the thought behind it, that's going to cause damage and destruction, Hashashon, or Haridoi, or it's going to cause a decline, or Pagmo, or damage, Lahachshrik, or causing darkness, Lahaktin, or to decrease, it's going to decrease and lessen the brilliance of the light. I mean, the mitzvahs, if they're done properly in action and in thought, they're going to bring increased light and clarity and brilliance of light. And same Hasvashalom for Averis. They're going to cause darkness and lessening of light. So it also, in the same way, it's going to cause a diminution and a lessening and a darkness of the brilliance of that light. It's going to cause a weakness and a feebleness and a lessening of the power of that purity of Hashem's holiness, Chas v'sholom.
כי לא כל העולמות שבו
הכל כפי
הכל כפי ערך החטא ואפני עשייתו וכפי ערך ועניין היסורים העולם הגובה ורגשו.
So it says everything, hakol, everything, kefi erech hachet, la'afnei asiyaso. And everything is going to go according to the quality of the sin and the extent
of the method.
the branches, literally, or finding like the asiyaso and the
Method of doing it.
method of doing it.
כי לא כל העולמות שבו שיעורן בעניין הפגם
It's since not all the worlds are equal in their dimensions, in the way that they become damaged and destroyed.
שבתחתון הוא הריסו וחורבן.
So in the lower world, you have destruction and chorban, and you have destruction and damage. So in above, Lamala, the worlds above, that's the preventance. You're preventing light. You cause a lack of light.
Many asnias is putting down the meditation.
Preventing light. You block out light. So the Elyon Yosem, in a higher world above it, Gorim, what does the Chet cause? Gorim, it causes Rak Hamiyitas Shefas Oiroi or Haktanaso. It causes a decrease in the influence of the light or a reduction in the light. So it says that it says that Ubiyosa Gavoya Vanilla, and that dimension which is higher and more elevated, Gorim, what is the Chet cause there? The Chet causes Rakam Yutis the Goidal Atziswa Order. The Chet causes a a lack, a decrease in the greatness of the brilliance of the light, and the Torah and the purity, and a lack of purity in the wondrous holiness. Gehenna Rabos Bechinos Shonos. Many are like this in different ways.
There's a good Indian Shekaru saying is from the Prophet. The Chama is Gam, Ogoin Gam, Kodim, Shalmana. The Zahar, like this one,
this is a big paragraph. Just the beginning of the Zeli Indian Shakur Boseno. This is the Indian that Chazal referred to as Kama Makomas Gam Ha'avon Gam Yunim Shomela. That the damage that's caused by the avon, the transgression, it's a begam, ikyonim shomelech. It causes a damage in the, how do they translate ikyonim shomelech? What do they say here? The throne of the king?
Chazal refers to this in many places, the damage of sin, the damage of the image of the king.
How's that? Yeah, where does it say? Just read it.
Chazal refers to this in many places, to the damage of sin, the damage of the image of the king.
The damage of sin is the damage to the image of the king. Okay?
Sure.
Very good.
What's the next class?